programming is used widely in all the programming languages like in Java, in Python, in C++, C Sharp, and other things. The same way it is used in object-oriented programming in our. So some basic thing about object-oriented programming, and then we will go ahead with some practical approaches related to it. So whenever we are thinking about any object-oriented programming, the first thing which came into the mind is a class. So what is this class? Class, let me open and show you that what is exactly the class and how it is look like into our system. So basically this is the T code which is used for opening or creating such kind of objects into our system. That is, we are called it as a object type as a class. So once we have this thing, I will just create a new class out of it and will show you how it is look like into the system and how it is what attribute, what method, and what other things are related to it, and how we leverages this thing into our system while in our programmings. Okay, so one is a procedural programming which we are currently using, and now we are moving toward the object oriented programming. Okay, so this is our first program. Let's see. I will create this program. First, it will ask me whether I wanted to create a class or whether I wanted to create an interface. So, okay, 1 second, people are joining. Just, okay, thank you. Yeah. So let's see how this classes look like and what is there in the class and what functionality is providing for us to do our programming in a more particular way. So I'm just creating a first class. It is asking me some input. I will just put some input. First class for oops. You can see it is asking for you instance generation. It is asking some couple of information, but right now I will just show you how it is looking like into the system. Once we will go ahead with other things, we will talk about all those things in a detailed manner. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just using the detail. Now you can see there are a couple of things are there as normal when we are writing a program in SE38. If I will go into SE38, so this is our class, or I would say first program here. So this is our how normal programming is look like. I'll just create a normal program. Okay, normal program I must say. Executable, save it, save it. Yeah. So this is how we didn't. If you see the differences, here we have a lot of things we can see. We can see property, we can see interface, we can see friends, attribute, methods, event types, alias. But if you see in the procedure programming, we haven't find any such thing. Okay. So we will talk about one by one with related to all those things, what it is and how it is used into the system. So first understand what is a class. So class basically a user defined type which is having the attributes. If you can see attributes are there, which are having the methods, which are having the interface, which are having the events. Okay. So now if we go ahead, if you see here, we can't see any such type of thing here. Okay. Now understand when we having a class now, how we can utilize this class. We can process any class through a object only. Okay. So how to create our objects and how to create other, that I will tell you when we do a practical into a system. First understand think that how it is classes look like. Class is a combination of attribute, methods, event, user defined data type, interfaces. So a lot of things are there. If you see, I'll just open this again and you can see it here. Okay. Properties, interface, friend, attribute, methods, events, types, aliases. In the properties as well, we have a super classes. We have a inheritance, change in inheritance. We will do it in detailed session and see how it is look like into the system. Okay. So let's first get into a system and create first class, and this class before going to creation of a class, first understand there are two type of classes are there in the object oriented programming in ABAP. One class we called it as a global class. So if you see, first is called as a global class. So what is global class means? It is available for all the system. Okay. Second is called as a local class. So that is restricted to a particular programs only. So first we will go ahead with the local classes and then we will go ahead with the global classes. So global classes, all global classes created through the transaction SE24, while local class can be created within SE38, within SE80. Through SE80 we can create, within SE38 we can create. Okay, let's first understand and first we will create the first local class into the system. Okay, so normal we will use as we are moving from procedural programming to the object oriented programming. So it will be useful that we will learn first how we can create a local class, because it is more interacted with the our normal procedural programming, and then we will move ahead and will create the global classes. So if you see, just I'm creating one simple program, simple class. The creation of the program is same. I want an executable program. For Oops ABAP, yeah, I'm saving it. Okay, yeah, fine. So this is just a report. In this report, I will create a local class. So how to create or how to start with the local class? So keyword is class, right? Now I will just name it. So for local class, I always use the nomenclature of LCL. Okay, I will just name this class as a uh, action. Okay, now syntax tell me class and class. So this is our class, but first, whenever I will start with the object oriented programming, first I have to give the definition of the class. So the keyword is definition. So you have to remember these syntaxes before writing any class for it. So first, whenever we are going to create any class, so this is the syntax for creating any class. So first we have a definition, and then for same one, we have the implementation. So this is a normal syntax for every class we have to create. So under this class, we have some sections like public section. I'll talk in more detail. Private section and protected section. These are the three sections are there where we will put our attributes, our methods, whatever is required to process into the class or process required for a method to support a method. Okay, so let's talk little bit about this public, private, and protected section. Okay, and in future we will talk more in detail about these things, like what is public, what is private, and what is protected. So for public section, I think name already indicated it, whatever things is available to the public, or we can say in simply whatever the things which are available to all the peoples for the class by the class, it is called as a public section. For private section, it is only restricted to a particular class only. Then it is called as a private section. And finally, the protected section, it is restricted to the class, plus when we learn inheritance, then we understand that what how protected section can be utilized by the child classes are there. So this is a part of a inheritance. We will talk in a few minutes. We will talk about the inheritance as well. But let's try to first create a simple object oriented program. We will create a class, and then we will create a object, and then we will create an instance of it. Okay. So now what we have created a class. Now the class itself doesn't indicate anything if it does not having the attribute or it doesn't having the methods. So create some attributes. So attribute creation is created with data. Okay, so I'm just creating some so what I will do with this class, first I will define what is the objective to create such kind of class, or what is my final objective. So I'm taking a two input of a field. So just like I wanted to take some action, like I wanted to do a addition, subtraction, or a multiplication. That is thing I wanted to do. So for any of these things, I need at least two numbers, right? So number one or number two. So for addition as well, n1 plus n2, or in simple term, the number is called as n1 plus n2. Then we have the sum. So how we can indicate, or how we can depict this whole story into the object oriented programming, that I will show you here. Okay, so let's see. I will just first create the method. So I'm creating a method within a public section. So right now I will do most of the thing in the public section, and then after we will go ahead and check the thing in the private and other places. Okay, now I'll just put method. The method name is addition, whatever the name is there. See, with this local classes, we don't have to follow any naming creature. Z or your company nomenclature should be followed for the global classes, but for local classes there is no such nomenclature. But by books, or by as recommended by the SAP, we have to use LCL. Okay, for method there is no such restriction. We can use any name, just like I can use add. But what I'm creating addition, but addition requires at least two method. Okay, so I'm just using a importing parameter. So this importing parameter, what it will do, so this is the attribute of this method. Okay, so I'm creating a attribute into it, like type I, and one more, number two, type I. So this is my definition of a method. So there is a one method which allows me to provide two, which is importing two numbers, number one or number two, num1, num2. Okay, now my method is ready. Now I have to provide the implementation of the method. So if you see the definition itself, providing my definitions only, so that's what this method will look like. But what this method will actually do, that I will write in the implementations only. So under this method, again, what method I wanted to implement? I wanted to implement method. Now and method. Yeah. Now I will store this sum into one data. So I will create one data here. Data is a sum type I. So this is, if you remember, this is an attribute and this is the method. Now I will fill this attribute, because this is all under the public section. So I will fill this attribute sum is equal to. So already these two importing parameters are available for me. So if I do, see, num1 is available, plus num2 is available. Okay, now simply I have to write this thing. I can write here as well, or I can write when I will do, I'll just write, this is normal addition statement, write a statement in there in the system, addition of two number. Okay, again I will just write this sum. Okay, let's check this program. Okay, so if you see, the correct order is public, protected, and then private. So public is right. Okay, I have in, okay, this should be on second. Okay, now it's, so there is a pattern to write any class. First you have to use a public, then you have to use a protected section and then the private section. The most restricted section should be come last. Okay, now I will use this public section. I will in the future classes or within this class only we will use how we can utilize protected and private section as well. But for now we will just writing a simple program and see. This is now we will just activate it. Okay, fine. So all thing is done. Now I have to run this program. So any program I can run that should start with the start of selection, right? Now, okay. Now we will learn what what is the object. Okay, so this is the object. I'm creating an object for this class. Right now, this is just a skeleton. Okay, so whatever thing we will pass into this skeleton, that will convert into an object, and that object having a particular instance for it. So for executing this class, I need an object. Okay, so I'm creating an object initially. So this object name should be like this: object action type ref2. What is the class name? LCL action. So see here. Uh, Normally we write data type. If you see, I have write data type as type. Now I have write this data type as a type ref2. So for any object type data, so data which is of object type should be created with this syntax. Okay, type ref2. So this will provide me an object for it, but itself object will not perform any function unless and until it is we have a static classes into it. What is a static class? What is a instant methods? That I will talk in a few minutes. But right now, just understand that without this object, I cannot create an instance, and this instance will help me to execute those methods. Okay, so for creating an instance, there is another. So this is a syntax for creating the object. Now the object is ready. That means if I write it, this is an instance. This is an instance and this is the object here. So I have generated the instance here and this is the object here. Now with this object, I can execute. Okay. So this is a one way through which I can call a method. So this method, what it is, this is this addition method, add method. This is a one way. Another way is using this call method. Okay, this is the another way to call this. But mostly with new 7.4 and with the new ABAP version, we will use this type of syntax. But yes, we can use also this syntax. There is no such difference in between both of the syntaxes. So I'll just remove this. I'll just pass some numbers, random number like 5, and I'll pass 6 here. That's it. Check the program. So this is a very simple program, addition of the two program with the object oriented approach. Right now, I'll just execute it. First, see the output of the number. So, okay, somebody is again, okay, admitting 1 second. Sorry for that. Yeah. Okay. So this is the first program where we do the addition of the two number with the object oriented approach. Okay, let's debug this thing and find out how it is look like and from where it is getting started and where it went into the system and how the execution phase is going on. So let's save it. So first, this is the object. If you see closely, This is initial right now. Yeah, if you can see, this is initial. So initial means this is an object, but it is doesn't denote any instance of it. Now, if I just press F6, now if you see this statement executed, now this is becoming the instance of it. Okay, now you can see you have the method, we have this attribute into it, we have this LCL and other thing. And now if I do F5, I went into this add method. So sum, it's calculated the sum. What is the number one and number two? Number one and two I have provided into it 5 and 6. Now addition is there. Just writing those statement F8. Simple, right? So this is the way through which we have a simple ABAP program written into the system.